Yo, what's up everybody? This is Ari in the Air. I'm a professional paraglide pilot, highliner, filmmaker, YouTuber. Welcome to my channel. Today, we're talking about what's the best glider for you, how to choose the right glider. That's brand and model and class and weight range. Where should you be at? How do you know when it's time to step up? How do you know when it's time to step down? There's a ton of information out there. It can get crazy. So let's go through all of it. Ready? Intro. Here we go.
See ya.
I'm paragliding!
See ya. All right. So if we're talking about gliders, first we got to talk about a couple things. One is glider choice and ego. And with that, you just want to make sure that you're not trying to step up onto a hotter glider because it's cool, or that you want to make yourself seem better than you are, or you want to compete with the guys who are really good, or blah blah blah, right? Also, just a side note, it is 2019, which means the gliders are all pretty much awesome. It's hard to get a bad glider. But there are so many different kinds of gliders for different things that it's worth saying that obviously if you want to fly acrobatics, you're looking at acrobatics gliders. You want to fly cross country, you're looking for cross country gliders. If you want high wind soaring gliders for the coast, then you're kind of looking at a specific kind of glider. But within those glider types, there are obviously glider classes and sizes, and we're going to go over some of that stuff today. So how to know that you're ready to step up to the next glider class from an A to a B, or a B to a C, C to a D, D to a comp glider. Let's see, I've got a piece of paper around here somewhere. Oh yeah, it's right here. Okay, here it is. So the first thing is a general rule that is around in the industry, and that's basically that you spend 200 hours in every class. The one exception to that rule is the E&A class. E&A, I would say that a student can spend about 100 hours. It might be a little less if you're fast, it might be a little more if you're slow, but about 100 hours you can move from an A to a B. But after that, 200 hours at a B, 200 hours at a C, 200 hours at a D, and then you can move to a comp glider, right? That way, that by the time you get ready for a comp glider, you're a really experienced pilot with over 800 or 1,000 hours, right? And that makes sense. The next thing is that before you step to the next glider, you want to be really comfortable with the entire speed range of the glider that you're on and the class that you're on. So if you're on a B and you're really comfortable pushing all the way full speed bar, and you're also comfortable flying it really slow, not only are you comfortable doing it, but you're experienced doing it. You've pushed the speed bar a lot, you've flown slow a lot. You really want to be comfortable and experienced with the full range of speed on your glider. The next thing is SIV. When we talk about SIV, especially for people who want to fly in the mountains, who want to fly midday, who want to fly cross country, this is more than just a recommendation. This is like what you have to do. If you want to know your glider, you got to know it in collapse, you got to know it in stall, you got to know it in spin. All of these things, right? So SIV is not just once. We're not talking about just doing these things once to get them over with. We're talking about being comfortable stalling your glider. That might mean, for some people, it might mean 50. For some people, it might mean 100. Really experienced acrobatics pilots do thousands of stalls and are fully versed with every nuance of the maneuver. Also collapses, frontals, accelerated spins, and all kinds of stuff, right? You really want to be super comfortable with that, with the glider class that you're in before you step to a higher glider class. Because obviously the higher glider class is more to manage in any of those situations. The next thing I'll say is you want to be comfortable doing acro light. Acro light is my term for wingovers, for spirals, for beeline stalls, for porpoising, where you push on the speed bar and let off and pull on the brakes, and then push on the speed bar and you make big, huge oscillations, and maybe even sats. It includes a lot of the positive movement acrobatics, and if you can't really spiral your glider nose down, there's no way you're ready to move to the next glider class. If you're on a B and you can't spiral it nose down, then there's no way you're ready for a C, in my personal opinion. The last thing I'll say about being ready for the next glider class is that you're either going to maintain or increase your level of currency. Currency being how much you fly per year. So if you're going to step from a B to a C and you only fly 50 hours a year, you might want to think about taking your flying to 80 hours a year or 100 hours a year. But you don't want to go from a 100-hour-a-year pilot to a 40-hour-a-year pilot and step from a B to a C. That's not a great idea. You want to be flying more if you're on a hotter glider. Having said those things, please remember that there are so many people out there who can kick your ass all day long on an E and B. All right? I know those guys. Mark Simpson, shout out to Mark Simpson, who will just smoke you on an E and B all day long. There's also pilots out there who I know who are paragliding World Cup pilots who, if they're not really current on their Enzo, they're going to step down to a C and fly the C until they step back up. In aviation, it should be taken very seriously what you fly, what you're qualified to fly, what you're current to fly. There shouldn't be any ego in it. You should fly at the level that you're at, not that you wish you were. Okay? Also with these things, I'm not saying that if you took a 2-month hiatus off that you got to go buy a glider the class below you. I'm just saying in general, these are some guidelines that I hope help you in your glider purchases. Okay? So the next thing, let's talk about when it might be a good idea to step down on your glider. Step down in glider class. So there you go. It's a good idea to think about stepping down a glider class when you're going to do a decrease in your currency, meaning that you're going to go from being a 150-hour pilot a year to a 50-hour a year pilot. If you're not going to be flying as much, you might want to think about flying something that's easier to manage. On the contrary, if you're going to have a huge increase in conditions, it might be a good idea to step down on a glider. If you are a coastal soaring pilot and you fly smooth ocean air on an E&D and you've never thermaled and you're going to move out west with us into the inner mountains where we're going to fly huge mountain desert thermals all day, like it's probably a good idea to come on down to a B or a C or something, you know? Also, some signs that you might be a little bit higher than the glider class you should be in might be difficulty launching, difficulty landing, or a general discomfort in the air. If you're not comfortable using the full speed range, if you're not comfortable pulling big ears, if you're not really trusting the glider that's above you, you might be on a glider that's too hot for your level. And it's not a big thing. It's no shame, no embarrassment. If you're on a glider that's not on your level, you want to get on a glider that's on your level because it'll actually help you progress faster. And I'll touch on that here in a moment. But the last two things that I'll say if you are thinking that you might have to step down on a glider are an accident where you crash, or incident where you kind of have some close calls, or you have advancing age or developing health issues. Those are all ideas that it might be time to step down on gliders. I've seen this here at my local site where pilots have been flying for 20 years and they fly on ENCs, and then they step down to an E and B because they're not flying as much and they're getting a little older, getting a little slower, although they're still wise enough to make a prudent decision on their glider choice, right? So when you're picking your glider, the most important thing is that you get the one that matches your level because it will help you progress the fastest. If you wish you had more performance and you want to learn cross country, but you step to a competition glider and you can barely manage the thing, your progression will be super slow. You're going to be scared of the glider for so long that it's not going to help you. What you really want is a glider that's right at your level so that you can focus on the task at hand. You can focus on finding the thermal. You can focus on your technique. You can focus on the micrometeorology, all these things. Paragliding is this crazy mind game, and if you focus too much on your glider, then you're not really learning. So you really want to be on the glider that suits your level for your progression. It will help you progress faster. So the last thing we'll talk about here is weight loading. What size of glider do you want? And basically, weight loading can be preference, it can be intention, and it can be based on your experience. So if your intention is high wind soaring, you want a small glider. If your intention is acrobatics, you want a smaller glider. If your intention is cross country, well, you want to be right in the perfect spot on the weight range. If your experience is a beginner, you want to be lower on the weight range. If you're really advanced, you can fly right up to the top of the weight range. Your best bet is to stay within the recommended manufacturer weight range, but in certain instances, experts will go over the top. Experts never fly under the bottom of a glider. It just doesn't respond. It's not safe. So definitely don't do that. But like I said, if you're trying to learn a thermal, you probably want to be above half and into the 3/4 range to have a nice glide and to have a glider that's not too agile and responsive. But those are just some generalities as you can start to conceptualize your wing loading. And I hope that stuff helps you. I sell gliders. I'm not a super salesy person, but if you have any questions about what glider you should get or what I think is next for you, I'm really happy to answer those questions. You can put them in the comments below, or you can email me at ariintheair.com or ariintheair@gmail.com, that is. And I really appreciate the guys who have reached out to me and bought gliders and had questions for me about what gear I think they should have. That's John Repa, that's Sean, that's the guy from New Jersey who bought the Blackout. So thanks guys. I give big discounts to my YouTube subscribers. So subscribe to this channel. There's a ton of informational paragliding content here. Dig in. I hope it helps you. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.